Clair Obscur Expedition 33 was first revealed in June 2024 at the Xbox Games Showcase. It made a whole bunch of people go, okay, hold on a second, what was that? Do not take this stunned reception to be negative in any way, it was quite the opposite. Indie developers Sandfall Interactive definitely grabbed a lot of people's attention with the reveal trailer of their first ever game. The trailers that followed in the lead up to launch did not dampen the hype as each one continued to look better and better. Now released, did this game's fantastic trailers translate to the in-game experience? What's up? How's it going, people? Welcome to Casual Gamer Reviews. If you enjoy this video, please consider leaving a like and subscribe as it really helps the channel. It took me approximately 30 hours to run the story to its finale, but then I spent another 20 hours doing the endgame content, reviewed on Xbox Series X. Clair Obscur Expedition 33 is a turn-based RPG from a Western developer that takes a lot of influence from our beloved Eastern creators. You have a group of playable characters in which you can select any 3 of these to make up your active party. Combat encounters will take place between the enemies and these 3 active members. Each encounter will provide XP, which can then be used to level up your characters. Each level provides 3 points, which can be allocated between 5 different attributes. These are all pretty standard and are vitality for health, might for attack power, agility for speed, defense for damage reduction, and luck for critical hit percentage. In addition to this, each player's weapon will scale to 2 of these attributes outside of might, so you can also add additional attack power with the benefit of increasing one of these other traits. The leveling system itself, as you can probably gather from my overview, will feel familiar to anyone versed in RPGs. Where Clair Obscur really shines, and I mean shines so much it might melt your face off, is the combat. I am being deadly serious when I say that this game has the absolute best turn-based combat I have ever had the pleasure of experiencing. Usually in JRPGs or anything that consists of turn-based combat, you can switch off and in the latter stages of the game even attempt to outright avoid some enemies. I never once tried to avoid a combat encounter in Clair Obscur. I quite literally looked forward to every single fight I could get into. I was actively running into bad guys. For me, personally, that is a first. Turn-based combat isn't for me. It's a common thing I hear a lot of people say, but I implore you, do not turn off this review. Do not avoid this game because it is turn-based. Let me explain why this is the most engaging, most incredibly fun combat system to have been developed. The main downside of turn-based combat is the fact you don't need to pay too much attention and you fall into a cycle of just speed pressing the options as you end up using the same attack or combos for menial enemies. That could not be further from the truth in Clair Obscur. If you switch off, zone out, go make a cup of tea, you will die. You need to be present and engaged throughout this whole fight. The game features what Sandfall has dubbed reactive combat. Every single attack from an enemy can either be parried or dodged. There are 2 parry mechanics and 2 dodge mechanics. The parries have a much tighter window but much greater rewards. This works seamlessly with the dodge, as every new enemy you encounter you will need to learn their movesets to know when to parry. The best way to do this, of course, is use the more generously timed dodge to avoid damage. Once you are confident with the timings, you can then start parrying, and each move or full combo successfully parried will result in a counterattack for massive damage. There are so many wild movesets out there in the world of Expedition 33. It reminded me a bit of a Souls-like with the wind-ups, delayed swings, and feints. The challenge level was just right with it not being too tough, but being high enough that every successful parry felt amazing. When I got that little slow-mo pop-up saying that I was performing a counterattack, I would get a rush of endorphins. Sometimes there would be a special jump attack that would require a jump dodge via a different button input. Sometimes there would be a gradient attack that would have to be uniquely parried also via a different button input. Therefore, all in all, there are 4 different buttons you could be required to press during an enemy's attack sequence, and you have to intuitively decipher which one to use and when. Because of this, I was locked into every single combat encounter and I loved every second of it. In an extension of this reactive combat, there are also button prompts in the form of QuickTime events, or QTEs for short, on your party's attacks. Each skill or special attack you use outside of your basic attack will spark a QTE that, if correctly executed, will provide bonus damage. This results in a constant cycle of calculating and interacting with the turn-based combat, making it feel incredibly original and a far way away from the traditional style we see so often in RPGs. Some of these mechanics we have seen in Super Mario RPG and more modern games like Sea of Stars, but trust me, not to the level that is being displayed in Clair Obscur. I have played all those other games and I can say without a doubt that this combat system is significantly more enjoyable and refined. I've been talking about the combat for a while, but I'm gonna keep going because it deserves the time. It really is just that good. Each party member has a different fighting style in a form of a predetermined class. These styles are way over and above your traditional mage or rogue, and they introduce extremely fleshed out and satisfying mechanics unique to each character. To give a couple of examples, Lune, who is our resident magic user, will gain an elemental stain or two after every spell she casts. These stains can then stack to buff other spells and attacks. For example, she could cast a frost spell and gain an ice stain. Then on her next turn, she could have a fire attack that has boosted damage if it consumes that ice stain. Or maybe she'll have an earth stain that will boost an electrical spell, and so on. Mael is all about stances. Each attack will shift her from stance to stance, and you can strategize through this depending on your enemy. A defensive stance will increase defense by 50% but reduce attack by 50%. An offensive stance will do the opposite. Then a virtuous stance will give you 200% damage, and so on. Gustav has an electric arm that can be powered up by using certain moves, and then when fully charged can unleash a super powerful attack that will break most enemies. I won't go into any more characters as to avoid potential spoilers, but you can see here just from the starting 3 expeditioners how the combat can widely vary. Usually in games like this, certain team members will just fall to the wayside as you will favor others, but with these unique fighting traits, I genuinely wanted to use every member of my party and would often switch through them. This game is just so good. Due to the individual fighting styles, each character has their own skill trees which feature moves that not only sync up with their individual fighting style, but sets up other team members' buffs too. At each level increase, a skill point is obtained, and this can be spent in the tree to unlock a new move. Each character can have 6 skills equipped at any one time, and each of them cost a certain number of action points, or AP. You get AP through many methods, but the most common way is by using a basic attack. Let me give some examples of the synchronicity that I just mentioned. Lune can cast a fire spell that causes an enemy to be afflicted with burn. Mael then has a move that does high physical damage, but also has a passive effect that if it is used on an enemy who suffers burn, it will switch her to virtuous stance. There are skills that apply powerful to the party. There are skills that effectively pass it back to a strong player with other buffs. There are many other ones that can heal the party given certain criteria are met. The game is always thinking how you can play to bounce off each other, and it works beautifully. To wrap up the combat topic, I have to talk about Pictos and Luminas. Pictos are little buffs that can cause many different things to occur. Just look at this screen here. There are absolutely loads of them. There is a Pictos that will increase your damage, one that will give you AP or heal on parry, one that will give you invulnerability to status effects, one that gives you a protective shield, one that will give you a second life. You get the idea. If you want to do something, there is probably a Pictos you can get for it. Each member can equip 3 Pictos at a time, however, the system goes deeper through what are called Luminas. Once you have won 4 battles with a certain Pictos equipped, it can be equipped by any party member through the Lumina screen. Each Pictos turn Lumina will have a set amount of Lumina points required to equip. Lumina points are obtained through leveling up, but can also be purchased or found in the world. By the end game, I had around 200 Lumina points for each of my party members, meaning that all of them had 20 plus Pictos equipped, which really solidifies your combat prowess. Don't be scared if this sounds confusing or if these menus look intimidating, because I am usually turned off by this kind of thing, but it is so user friendly and is surprisingly easy to understand. Another thing I adore about Clair Obscur Expedition 33 is the minimalistic inventory system. You have a single material that upgrades weapons, a material that upgrades your combat potions, and one that upgrades your healing potion. Then there's the Lumina points I mentioned earlier, and an item to reset skill points. That's it. That is all you get. So no complex inventory management systems or encumbrance or anything like that. The only other items you get are quest items, which are, as usual, mostly single use. The potions work on a refill system. Think the Estus flask from Dark Souls. During combat, you have a heal, a revive, and one to give AP. Their use amount can be upgraded, like I just said, but once they are consumed, you will have to rest to refill them. Outside of combat, you have a healing potion that works in exactly the same way. I absolutely love this system, as it is so common in games of this ilk to have healing and mana potions hanging out of your pockets or constantly having to stock up in shops. This system just completely eliminates that. Another refreshing quirk is the overworld map. The devs talked in depth about their decision to include the overworld map in the run-up to launch, and as you can see here, it is implemented well. There is nothing groundbreaking here. It is much like any overworld map you would have experienced, but there is just something so satisfying about being a disproportionate little guy in a big world. As the game advances, you unlock new modes of traversal through being able to swim and then fly, which gives access to a multitude of optional areas and secrets I will talk about later in the video. Looking to other turn-based games like the Persona series or Octopath Traveler, one of the main things that resonates in any memory of these titles is the style. You spend a lot of time looking at menus, and most recently Metaphor ReFantazio, my 2024 game of the year, wowed us with its flashy UI. Clair Obscur takes all of these influences and creates its own UI that is equally flashy, equally vibrant, and has undeniable flair. The combat menus are snappy and have this painted look that reflects brushstrokes of someone who had a very clear vision. Painting is something that is central to this world, and you do see it mirrored in other aspects too, mostly the enemies and NPCs. There is a whole race of friendly NPCs who double up as merchants who are literally paintbrushes with limbs. The enemies themselves range so much in look and feel that you never get bored of one. The main story bosses are phenomenal and are designed as truly epic and memorable encounters. The painted art style and its vibrant albeit gloomy manner are to thank here. Visually, the expedition itself is also great. The characters all look and feel like emotional and relatable people, and the fact that they can just magic their weapons out of thin air is fucking sick. If Gustav was not created from Robert Pattinson's likeness, I will eat my hat. The expedition uniforms worn by this cool cast are also fantastic, but there are a vast amount of unlockable costumes and hairstyles you can discover through your expedition, and some of these were really good. I loved how they leaned into their Frenchness by literally having outfits with striped tops, berets, and baguettes strapped to their backs. The best thing about the visuals though, without a doubt, is the world and environments. One minute you can be in a French Revolution style battlefield, and the next be in a world where it looks like you're underwater, but not really. Then you could be platforming through a world that is suspended by bits of a broken canvas. You could be running across a landscape of gold-trimmed obelisk. The levels are constantly chopping and changing the scenery around you, whilst at the same time sticking to its core theme of painting, and each and every one was as striking as the last. I have to mention that the lip sync in this game is mapped to the French-speaking audio, which most will not play in, so it may look a little off, but personally, not enough to annoy me. As it turns out, even the audio in this game is exceptional. There is a star-studded cast when it comes to the voices. Charlie Cox of Daredevil fame voices Gustav, Jennifer English, who most will know as Shadowheart, plays Mael. Ben Starr, who is best known as Clive from Final Fantasy XVI, plays an expeditioner. Even the legend Andy Serkis is in this. Kirsty Ryder, Shayla Nix, and Rich Keeble all round out the main cast, and unsurprisingly, giving this talent on show, Clair Obscur really is outstanding in its voice work. This is a very emotional game, and the line delivery was so impactful every single time. While the dialogue can be super deep cut at times, it also leans into the goofy really well. The almost always dire situation is occasionally alleviated slightly with some well-placed humor, some of which is really funny. One of the goofiest characters, Esquier, was perfect for this. He always knows what to say, mes amis. Oh yeah, and this game can be really French at times, which of course is very fitting for the setting, but it also felt very natural for the cast to switch between English and French in some situations. Bear in mind that this is coming from me, an English speaker, so to French speaking audiences it may be awful. You'll have to let me know in the comments below if that is the case. As for the music, this is one of the best game soundtracks I've ever heard. There are some really impressive orchestral beats for the deep story sections, and then some tunes that absolutely slap for the combat. There are some fun quirky tracks in areas where the game takes itself less seriously, like the Gestural Village. And the best bit about this is the composer was just a guy they found on SoundCloud. Bravo, Lorien Testad, bravo. Moving on to the story, and I have to say that narratively, Clair Obscur is exceptional. This is a world where every single year an evil entity dubbed the Paintress awakens from her slumber and paints a number on a massive monolith which bears down on the city of Lumiere. This number is always one less than the previous, and what this number does is it kills everyone who is above that age. Everyone doesn't just drop dead. No, this is an artistic game. In an event that the locals call the Gamage, when the Paintress awakens and paints her new number, everyone who dies fades away from existence in a stream of flower petals. The start of the game is on the day of the Gamage, as the Paintress rubs off the number 34 and paints the new number 33. We witness the Gamage of all the unlucky 34-year-olds, and you just know straight away this is going to be a deep game. Most years an expedition sets off to take down the Paintress and end this haunting cycle. The expedition consists of people who are in their final year of life, so in our case we are Expedition 33 filled with 33-year-olds. A slight difference in our expedition is Maëlle, who is only 16, and the adopted sister of main character Gustave, who is on this expedition. The setup of the overarching story is so unique and honestly could be adapted to any form of media, and I'm sure it will, but just experiencing it in this game with all its twists and turns was a once-in-a-lifetime experience. The story is fucking incredible. I cannot wait to see if there are further games in this franchise, a DLC or a sequel. These writers need to make more content ASAP. To round off this review, I turn to the bonus and side content. On the overworld map, there are many little caves and secret areas that you will not come across if you just follow the main story. Most of it is not accessible until the end game. These contain lots of different unique and challenging bosses that give unique weapons and pictos. Some of these are best left to be the final things you do in the game, as they are extremely difficult. Then there are collectibles in the form of music records you can play back in camp, and as the music is awesome in this game, they are definitely worth pursuing. The other collectibles you can find are journals from past expeditions, which are all voiced and give a little background story to previous failures, some of which are really cool. Lastly is the Gestural Beaches. These are fun little platforming challenge sections, which is wacky for a third-person turn-based RPG, but they were actually super fun. Well, that is of course except for the volleyball one, which can piss right off. That one was rage-inducing. All of these challenges reward you with a swimming costume outfit for the characters, which gives for some funny looks, especially Minoko's, which was hilarious. Clair Obscur Expedition 33 is a game that I struggle to say a single bad thing about. My question at the very start was, did the fantastic trailers translate into the in-game experience? And the answer is a resounding yes. In fact, I would go further and say the in-game experience surpassed the quality level set by the trailers. The visuals and audio are fantastic, the story is dark and twisted and had me emotionally invested, the bonus content is full and enjoyable, and the turn-based combat is honestly the best I've ever experienced. What Sandfall Interactive have achieved here is nothing short of a masterpiece. Clair Obscur Expedition 33 gets a casual gamer score of 10 out of 10. This game has currently entered my top 10 games of all time, and I cannot stress enough how much you need to go out and play it. For the cheaper price tag and being accessible on Game Pass, this is an absolute must play. I will be keeping an eye on Sandfall Interactive for whatever they produce next, as this game is a marvel. Check out my channel for more reviews, previews and spoiler casts. My Lost Records Bloom and Rage spoiler cast is up now, and I had a lot of fun making that, so go give it a watch if you're interested. Consider leaving a like and subscribe if you enjoyed this video, and for everything casual gamer, keep it here. Peace and love.